Om Shanti, everyone. Welcome to the Monday workshop. As always, every Monday we have a special guest with a very deep and profound spiritual experience. And today we have with us a very beloved to whole of the Brahmin family, Brother Erik. So Brother Erik is one of the original jewels of Americas, and definitely he started his spiritual journey, if I may please correct me, from San Francisco through the correspondence course in the early days of 1980s when Sister Denise and Sister Chandru came and started Baba service here, and Brother Erik is taking care of the yagya in the United States. Is part of the board, and he's part of the board of many spiritual organizations. One being the Interfaith, and he comes from engineering background. And he has a very light. He has this lightness that brings that grace of an angel in practicing this not so easy Raj Yoga, right? So we definitely need to learn that art of being light-hearted when we are going through this. And I had an opportunity to spend some time in a variety retreat in Australia, and I get to know Brother a little more, of course, with everyone. So we have with us Brother Erik.
Shanti, everyone. I had never been to a center, didn't know anything about this, but I took the correspondence course and I learned Raja Yoga meditation over a period of 9 months. One lesson a month. Mail the letters, receive something back, send it in. And so it was very learning process. I got letters in the mail and I got books. I got the correspondence course. I hope you've all seen those little packages, little pamphlets that they make. And then I ordered some more books, the old original ones, the way in goal of a Raj Yogi, and whatever they are, Jagdish Bhai's translated programs. And so I read those things, asked a few questions, and for me, it kind of fit. I didn't understand everything and I didn't quite have an example, but I had a glorious couple years because I was in Chicago. I was receiving God's knowledge, and my life was transforming. Okay, what I had been and what I was doing and what my priorities are started to make those spiritually grounded. And so that was a part of it. And for me, I'll explain. Harsha, guide me if I'm wandering off from what you want or anything like that. But what I had learned, I grew up in United States, Middle America, and had learned somewhere along the line that there were two parts, body and soul. And I was taught, and I have to phrase this properly, I'm not sure what I was taught, but what I learned was that I had a soul, and I had to follow good behavior so that that soul did not go to hell. It's like, okay, I can do that most of the time. And so that was where I came into this knowledge. And it was like a light switch for me when it was mentioned that, no, you're not the body with the soul, but you're actually a soul that has a body. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's right. That's true. That's true. And it was like, yeah, why didn't I think of that, But it had never occurred that was just a little flip. So there was nothing that I learned, but I took what I had been taught and saw it in a different way. Body, soul, And I just re-identified. And so that was profound. It was like, wow, this is pretty cool stuff. So what's the next lesson? And in that sense, the next lesson was kind of mathematical. Okay, my background is engineering, so everything's got to be fairly, make sense to me. And what I had also learned from my spiritual tradition growing up is that God made us in his own image. Okay, that's okay. So must be a man on a cloud or something like that, right? Well, that's the body conscious understanding. But when I realized that I'm a spiritual being, I'm a soul, and God created us in his own image. So if I know what I look like, I know who God is. He's a soul too. He has a personality. That makes sense. That's pretty straightforward and easy. And then things kind of flowed. The idea of time, I never had thought about it before, billions of years before. One of my favorite theories, which has been unproven, is that at the beginning there was nothing. And then it exploded. So how nothing explodes is kind of a little miracle, but Baba said recently in the Murlis that there would be miracles, and that must have been one of them. And so this concept of eternity and a beginning and an end, which was the Christian, let there be light, beginning, this is the end, and coming together, it explained everything for me about the cycle of time, about who we are, about how we come. And thermodynamics, that's the scientific principle of coming down the ladder. Gold, silver, energy goes down. And it's God's energy that brings us back up. And so for me, when I just had someone to think with and understand it, it became fundamentally easy Raj Yoga. However, then I also understood that knowing these things is different than applying them and living them and changing my sanskars. It would be nice to say to you, and it would be a lie, that the minute I understood, I became different. That's kind of true. I became different, but I didn't become improved. Let me put it that way. The improvement was step by step, and it takes a long time. But it was just so clear to me that what was being taught was true. And I kind of made that commitment to myself that the truth of the knowledge that I have understood and received is what I wanted to commit my life to. Now, that's pretty easy to say when you live by yourself, Okay. There was nothing else going on in Chicago, and there was just me, and literally I was thousands of miles away from anybody else who understood this knowledge at that time. There was, some West Coast and East Coast and Texas, and that was it. There were, I think, maybe 9 centers at the most at that time. And so had the opportunity, I'll tell 2 stories. One is after a year or so, there was a project, and Baba's talking about some of these projects in the Murlis, if you're listening to those. 88 was the Visions of a Better World, but there was something called Million Minutes of Peace, and it was something that was started, and they said to me, and listen to this, how things have changed. Well, there's nobody around in Chicago, so if you can do anything, go ahead. So I got kind of carte blanche to do service in Chicago during that time. I thought, well, okay, if this is, the world is coming to an end and everybody needs to have the message, this is my chance to step and do something. And actually did a few things that turned out okay, and had a good experience with that, but realized typing on a manual typewriter to VIPs or things like that, it was a different world at that time, that's for sure. So after that, I got invited to Baker Street Center because there was an inauguration coming. And so when Dadi Janki, who I hope all of you know and have met or have heard of or had some experience and connection with, she was invited to come to the center on Baker Street, which now looks like BK Chandru in that little picture there. Amazing how she can transform herself from living, smiling being into a house. But that's the center, the first center I ever went to. And so after about a year or so, I got invited, and I stayed there with the original BK family that I have in my mind from San Francisco. And so that was my first time to interact with a living BK. So it was, an amazing experience for me. Side notes that I worked as an insurance engineer consultant and had a job where I evaluated corporations, large corporations, big in company. And Dayton Hudson was one of my accounts, and they owned Mervyn's at the time. So I think Mervyn's is long gone, but if you know that, that was my ticket to California. So I would come out there periodically, combine some work, have somebody pay for my trip, and hang out with the BKs. But Daddy Janki came, and I was asked to stay in the center there. And so I spent the night with the brothers. My brother Macy was very generous with his time and his voice and a few things, and helped me along. The others, Mohan was there, Per was there, I think. A few who are not there right at the moment, but anyway. And in the morning, when we woke up, we had meditation. And it was in Baba's room, if you've been to San Francisco. And Daddy Janki was sitting in a chair along the back wall, and we were all on the floor. I used to be able to sit on the floor. I'm not so good at that anymore. And after that, 4:45, some music came on or something, and Daddy said, turn around. And so we kind of squiggled on the floor, and Daddy was in a chair. And she started to gaze at us. She started to look at us from that soul conscious point of view. And then she came to me, and that was the first time I had a profound experience of soul consciousness. It was Daddy Janki's drishti in Baba's room at the San Francisco Brahma Kumaris Center. I'll never forget it, because there was a huge difference that I learned between understanding knowledge, knowing what it is, and knowing it's true, and being able to change that or manifest that into the experience that is real. And so I got a real boost there at that time, at that experience. My first impression of Daddy Janki was, oh, she's very short. I was not the most spiritually profound person when she walked by. I was like, whoa, she's a very short person. And she was, not making that up. But she was incredibly powerful and a great teacher, and so someone who has had a great influence in my growth and change. And so very happy to have had that experience, got to meet the family, got to learn more. Chandra Ben was there, and Gita Ben. They were both the instruments in the center at Baker Street when I first came. So Chandra Ben, Gita Ben, I've known you probably now for 35 years. And appreciate everything that has been set up. And so when you talk about some of the early ones, I'm not the earliest of the early ones. Macy's there, Gita Ben's there, Chandra Ben's there, and the others are there. So incredible amount of experience and work and stories that take place. And the opportunity to recognize, and maybe that's where we'll head a little tonight, is the opportunity to recognize what God is teaching, what we can do with that knowledge, and that real golden opportunity to be able to participate in that. And so whatever you've learned, whatever you're practicing, whatever you're thinking about, for me, that's fundamental. Okay, really what's going on in the planetary universe. What are the energies that are most dominant? And understanding that there's this huge transformational time taking place now. And that one can step into that and live in that experience. And my understanding of that and my practice of that now is that nothing else comes close to being as important. Who am I? What's God doing? He's asked me if I want to join him in it. I say yes. Let me see if I can do my best to follow what he says. Let me see if I can understand some of the principles and why they're beneficial, and so I can apply those. But it's just amazing to me to really comprehend that as a soul, as an eternal being, I have had the chance to understand who I am, where I'm from, and do something with it. I'm able to apply and use my life to help others, help myself, and frankly, Baba says this, and you all know it, but truly, to watch the drama, enjoy every scene. And one time, well, lots of times, but there's that sense that if I get involved and see it from ground level, there's all sorts of chaos, there's all sorts of problems, there's all sorts of issues, there's all sorts of difficulties, and none of it's going to be solved, really. But if I can elevate my understanding and hold on to what Baba tells me, what God tells me, and how he sees it, I'm above all that. And it's very enjoyable. Obviously, I hope you've all flown, and I hope you fly again sometime soon. I haven't done it for a while. But when you take off, and it's a cloudy day, the clouds are there, there's turbulence, there's all sorts of upheavals down low and in the mix of all that stuff. But you're taken off and you go and you're above the clouds, sunny, calm, peaceful, easy. As you look down, no big deal. It's glorious, it's wonderful. And I find that's the perspective that helps me. It's not getting caught up in all the turbulence that's in life that people bring. Okay, I'm lucky now to be with people who can always create a problem. They're magicians. It's just amazing. Whatever goes on, and so if I focus in and live in that level, their turbulence, their stories, their emotions and excitement, and it's too hard for me. I get tired of that. So if I'm able to have that awareness of moving above, listening to what Baba says, and transforming myself, then I don't worry about it. I'm able to actually put that into practice and enjoy that. And so coming back to San Francisco, seeing what it is there, how that all worked out. I'm going to say one more little story, and then Harsha, you guide me on what we might want to do. But San Francisco was my first Brahmin family. And so the imprint on those relationships are very strong. And so being by myself, I didn't have much in the way of support. But they were the family that I went to India with. And so I would fly to San Francisco. And then one time we went through Hong Kong. One time went through, I forget where else, I think in Thailand, but never got off the plane there. Bangkok, maybe it was. But a couple times would fly the Orient side. And we go to Bombay and then take the train and our sleeping bags and such like that. But one time I had the great chance to sit next to Brother Macy. And we were on the plane, and I don't think he's ever fully thanked me for my gift to him. But I had questions, and he talked for about 11 hours straight. And at the end of the trip, he had lost his voice. And so he had a lot of silence on that trip as far as I know. But we chatted, and I kind of pumped him, and so very appreciative of that. So great to see you there, Macy Bide. And those little moments, I guess, I would encourage everybody to take part in. I don't know how much it's possible for us to get together to do service and do these things, but thinking of, I guess, the Murli I read today or yesterday, Baba just wants us to share our knowledge, have conversations about our experiences, and support each other. Because without that support, I wouldn't continue. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have friends. I wouldn't have companions. And I'm not sure what would be there. So the Brahmin family, relationships that we can make are supremely important. Because we're going to all go through things. Stuff is going to happen. We're going to kind of float down into the turbulence every once in a while. And to have someone that we can reach out to, connect to, talk to, understand us, support us, is a big part of what is happening. I got knowledge, I have understanding, I had an experience, but I'm not the only one going through this process. The whole planet is changing. All souls are going to go through whatever it takes for them to turn to God. And some will do it right away because they love and they have a good history. And others, they're going to fight it all the way. You know, they're going to hold on tooth and nail to whatever it is their ideas are. And so there's going to be a lot of consequences, a lot of events. The heat will be turned up until everything kind of boils over. But if we have a friend, if we have a family, if we are supported and support each other, it can be a glorious time. And so that feeling that this is the time for us to recognize the souls that we're around, the souls that we're with, the souls that we've had experiences with, and hold that consciousness, we are able to be a part of that change. We're a part of that creation. We're a part of God's family. And the ability to be with someone who understands the same thing you do is very rare in the spiritual world. Lots of people will say things, but to really have the understanding and be able to talk about what is soul consciousness? How does that feel? What is your experience about that? And to go deep into that, I hope you are all taking support, guidance, blessings from the family to do all that. I have another little thought. We got lots of time, right? Do what you can now. There's a little, sometimes they would call it rehearsal. And there was a rehearsal today for a lot of us. And I don't know if you experienced it or not. Sometimes you can sleep through these rehearsals. Sometimes they affect you a lot. But one of the biggest, greatest, most advanced company, whatever business they're in, I don't know if they crashed or whatever, but Facebook, WhatsApp, all those things stopped. I think it was 5 hours reported. And what that is telling me is that our capacity to use Zoom is probably going to be the same as it was that they did in Madhuban. There was a time, and Macy, Gita Ben, Chandra Ben for sure would know this, that they met Avyak Bapdada in his room and in History Hall and in Om Shanti Bhavan in Madhuban. And then it was down to Shantivan. And over time, things change. Now Baba doesn't come anymore. Now Baba doesn't have personal meetings anymore. And you heard in the Murli, I think it was on Sunday, that Baba's not going to be coming. Maybe it was in the class I read. Because Dadi Gulzar had an experience with her health. at that time. I was very fortunate that I had 2 personal meetings with Shiva in the body of Dadi Gulzar. Pretty amazing to me. And the many had lots of experiences, but things have changed. And so will Zoom last forever? Probably not. Will we continue to have the world that we're in the way it is? Definitely not. I'm seeing that there are a lot of forecasts. Here's a hot tip for Christmas. Buy things now. It's not going to be made. It's not going to be shipped. It's not going to be available for lots of reasons. COVID is one. Workers not driving trucks is another. Backup in ports is something else. Oil spills in California will probably gum up some stuff. Things aren't going to be what we expect and what we hope. And that's the source of very much frustration. You're going to see a lot of that because things aren't going to be the way they are. They'll change. And again, if you are expecting things to be happy, you're just going to sit at home and be peaceful. Good luck. If you're going to recognize that God is giving you a vision and a perspective of how to see things, you're going to be fine. But that understanding that times will change, Zoom is our gift right now, what's going to happen in the future, how are we going to interact, how are we going to connect, every moment is very special. Every person you meet is going to give you a gift. They're going to give you the gift of touching a place you need to fix. You might not like it, but they're going to give you that sense that, oh, why did I react? Why am I reacting? What's inside of me that I need to fix? It's not the other person. It's never the other person. And so all of these things make, for me, an incredibly rich time. Knowing where we've been, knowing who's a part of it, knowing I'm going to meet these souls again, all of you, somehow, somewhere, most likely. It's very exciting. I just, when I start to think about what's really going on in the world and what I have received and what I'm able to do and how I know what's going on, it's just mind-boggling, frankly. It truly is. Think you're just walking down the street and all of a sudden you have the wisdom of God and He has enlisted you to apply that knowledge in your life to help the world. That's actually what we're doing. That's how I see every day. What is it that I can do? And all I have to do is walk down the street and whistle a song and remember God, and the world's a better place. That's about how easy it is. And then the phone will ring, and then Harsha has a problem, or Gita wants to know something, and then we kind of go into a different scene. But that ability to have the awareness of really what's going on in the world and how to prepare for it and how to strengthen the self to deal with that. All of those are incredible gifts. And so I'm hoping that everybody tonight, I see just a few, are having that option to truly appreciate what it is that God has brought and what time this is and how to treasure everything, every moment, every self, and just kind of enjoy the drama. I hope your dramas are enjoyable. And one of the things that comes to mind is the lesson of choice. You have a choice to follow this or not, to be happy or not. And I kind of like to fall on the side of might as well enjoy and have some fun and make the best of this. Why not enjoy things? Why not choose happiness? Because I think it is a choice. I know that when I'm upset, I'm not happy. Why should I get upset? Why should I get upset about these things? Why should I get upset about what you're doing? Why should I get upset about what somebody else says? Why should I get upset for any reason? There's a lot of upsetting things, but it's still a choice. We have a great understanding and power, so why not use it and choose something good? Does that sound believable? Does that sound like something that you will do?
Yeah.
I was given a book, I think it was the Hare Krishna's Vegetarian Cooking. I grew up not vegetarian. I'm from Iowa, and they didn't know what vegetarianism is there. I had no idea. Just how could you possibly eat that? And I got a cookbook, and it had different recipes, and I would try them. And I made carrot pickle, and I followed the recipe. And to me, a pickle is, like a cucumber, and it's kind of sweet or sometimes dill, but it has a certain taste and texture. And I made what now I know is an Indian pickle. And it was the worst thing I had ever tasted that I had made. It was just, this was no good at all. And then I saw the recipe, and it's very hard to learn how to cook if you don't have pictures, if you don't have someone to show you what it's supposed to be. Because then I thought, well, I make this flatbread and little dough and kind of did it. I had no idea what a chapati was. I didn't know it was supposed to be thin. So I had this little stubby, fat dough ball, and it's like, well, I can't eat this thing either. So transitioning from one cuisine to another, if you don't know what it is rather challenging. However, I will share my my cooking knowledge with you. You will become a very good cook if you eat everything you make. Okay? And if it doesn't taste good, you will say every bite, I've got to figure out how to do this differently. And you'll get good. You'll get good enough that you'll eat what you make. Most of you are probably good cooks anyway, but I was a good cook, but a different type of a cook. Now I'm pretty good. I can eat with my fingers and wrap a chapati. Daddy Janki in San Francisco taught me how to eat sabji. You don't pick it apart, but there was something, it's like, I don't know who told me, but it's like, see if you can eat sitting on your left hand and just your right hand. And so I watched Daddy Janki, and she took this chapati, and with her right hand, she was able to pin it with her center finger, and with her first finger and thumb, break off a piece, and then wrap it around the sabji and eat. It's like, well, that's pretty cool. I never did that before. I'm a knife and fork kind of a guy. But it's like, when we were there, and I never knew any of the Mariatas, kind of wandering on as things pop into my mind, but it was by myself. So what did I know about anything? And so we were having a meal downstairs in the basement of the San Francisco Center. And Daddy Janki and Chandraben were sitting at a table. And I thought, well, that's a good place. I'll just sit right with them. And I learned very quickly, when they looked at me, they looked at each other, they kind of, okay, don't worry about that. I kind of figured out that maybe I wasn't invited to sit right there. And it's like, oh, okay. So I ate and I left. So I kind of figured that out. But there's lots of things that having a family is very helpful for. What are the principles? Where do we sit? How should we do these things? How should we interact? I was coming from a different world, and they said, oh, we're going to have a holiday and maybe we'll do some dancing. Like, well, that's cool, It's like, no, well, it's not exactly going to be that type of dancing. It might be a little more angelic. Oh, okay, that's good to know. So I learned a lot from the wonderful family in San Francisco. How to behave as a Brahma is one of the main things. And hope that I get a chance to come back out there again. I haven't been anywhere for a while. You probably haven't been anywhere for a while. I think the Shivani program was the last time I was out there. And it would be great if we can travel again. However, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what it is? So truly suggest, if you have an idea or an inspiration, don't sit on it. Write the book, record this, send the notes out, study as you can, create the experiences, share this with those that you want to, who you love, who care for, because we don't know. We're starting to have a few, and you've had that too. I'm thinking Mario now. We've had some BKs that have been around for a long time and seem to be pulled into a different scene. And so I don't know if anybody knows, there's a brother in Miami, Alex, 52, just all of a sudden passed away. And so what I take from something like that is how important every moment is, how we don't know what's going to happen. So we live in a world which is amazingly challenging, because we hear that God says time is short, and so we should plan for that. You know, time is short. We don't have any time. And then we spend a lot of our time long range planning. Well, how should we do this? And what should we do for service and things? And so there's this dichotomy of we have to do things now because we don't have any time. And the other is, oh, we have to plan for the long term, 6 months of food in the basement or whatever it's going to be. And so those are interesting little riddles that everybody has to sort out. How do I use my time now, but how can I economically plan for retirement? How do I manage those things? I met one brother, he was great. I don't know if he was from San Francisco, but could have been, Madhuban. And he said, you know, Baba said that the world was going to end, and I spent all my money. Now I'm broke. I was like, well, okay. So he had inspiration, but he didn't have enough sense to maintain the body. I'm not sure what happened to him. So maintaining an awareness of self, of our needs, how to manage that, how to make spirituality the foundation of our lives, but also how to function successfully. Those are the games we get to play. I hope you're doing well.
Thank you, Erik. But it was really beautiful. So one of the things I always used to have this thought that, like you were pointing out, the Brahmin family is the experience that we have with the Brahmin family right now will be the basis of our future of rest of our existence on earth, for that matter, right? Not just the gold and silver age, but even in the copper age onwards, what are karmic accounts. But it is the same family. We will be sticking with each other, longing for each other, you know, pulling and pushing and all other stuff, right? So this is the only time we get to know that these are the same souls we had a lot of reverence, a lot of love for, and we will not know later on. So on that note, I just want to ask a few more questions around, especially for those who have come recently, and especially with this COVID times where they cannot go in person into the center. So what are some of the yuktis that they can use to get in touch with that part of their self, right? You know, physically, it may not be possible to be if possible, that is great. But if not, what is other things that they can do so that they can go in subtle? Because dadis are there right now in a subtle form. They are more powerfully present in a subtle form than they were physically accessible. So what is that we should be practicing right now so that we can feel that sense of love?
Yeah. What should we practice so that we can feel a sense of love?
And belonging to the
Yeah.
Alokik family.
One of it should be a self-conversation to have that awareness and know that you are loved. Okay? God's never going to turn his back on anybody. Okay? And allowing that to settle in is a big effort for some. But having that awareness that you are loved and you do belong. If you don't believe that, it'll never happen. Because nobody else is going to make that happen for you. That sense that, who am I and what's my relationship? At the fundamental, I'm a soul, I'm God's child. And just if you've ever had a young person, your own children around, how much when they are happy, you are happy. And so if you want to feel loved, you need to stay happy. You need to, Baba will talk about this, engage, connect, converse, remember. And then you will feel that. But it comes down to, because it's very easy, and maybe you have sanskars, like most of us, habits, where, I've done something wrong and I should pull myself away and I'm not worthy. Anybody ever had that kind of a train of thinking? I didn't do this right. I should have done it better. Why, I missed this. I shouldn't have been saying that to this person. And all of a sudden we denigrate ourselves. We beat ourselves up. We think less of ourselves. We think we're not worthy. That's all nonsense. We'll make mistakes. I make mistakes. I make lots of mistakes every day. I could do better. But I'm not going to hold an image of myself that is going to harm myself. If I want to belong, if I want that feeling, I just have to know that that's the truth. And then I have to act with that. I belong to God. God is with me. I am so loved that I can think of this most powerful being in the universe, and he's right next to me. He's available. That's what he says. Sweet children, dearly beloved. Is he talking to you, or is he talking to me, or is he talking to somebody else? Oh, dearly beloved, it must be the guy next to me, No, that's not true at all. Dearly beloved, every day. Love, remembrances, good morning. He is talking to you. He is talking to me. He is sharing and saying every day, I love you. Are you listening? Do you believe that? Do you embody that? Just think about it right now. God really loves me and gives me everything and wants me to take an unlimited amount of what he has. Anybody else offer that to you? Anybody walking down the street say, I've got this mansion, would you take it for me? Here's my cars, this is my money, it's kind of too much, you take it. Nobody's going to do that. But God does. And so that, just letting that thought settle in and experience that this is the truth. And then all of a sudden, anything which is kind of harsh, but anything that keeps us from that is inside of us. There's something that got there. It's usually a thought that percolates, that kind of sneaks in, it interferes with that feeling. I don't belong, it's not for me, or that's our own talk. That's our own nonsense, actually. It's not true, it's false. When you start holding a thought that keeps you from God, it's not God's responsibility. It's ours. And that's where we can start to just hold that thought of how powerful we are. We have the ability to hold a thought and create an experience and know the truth. And so whatever we're thinking, Baba talks about this. First, it's in your thoughts and your attitudes, and then your vision and your words. But your thoughts are precursors to the words that you speak. And I love this idea that your words are like spells, magic spells. And so what are you sharing with others, and what are you sharing on yourself? I am beloved, I am God's child, I am, and are you feeling that? Or, oh, I'm not worthy, or this isn't right, or that one shouldn't have, and that's the energy that we put out. So I try to be very, very cautious of what I say and recognize that there is power in those words. I wish you were listening to Dadi Janki instead of me right now, because she is the one who would always keep an elevated vision, always the highest, looking at all of us, so that we would feel that we would see that, and that we could step into that experience. I think Baba wants us to do that with each other also. And how you see and how you communicate and what you share is going to help. You know, you need blessings from each other. You do not do this on your own. No one does. And so do you support each other, or do you tear each other down? Why did she say this? I don't know why he did that. What is going on? All this. That's really tiring stuff. So understanding what truth is, if you're a soul, if you recognize that, that's a fundamental lesson. If that becomes clear, then automatically you are God's child. You are loved. You are lovable. You are worthy of everything that He has. Knowledge, power, qualities, inheritance. You just got to step into it. Feel it. Make that part of your life. You have to believe God. You think He's a liar? No. You are my most beloved children, except you over there. Whoa, you're not, you know. He doesn't say that. He speaks, I think, in my opinion, I think He speaks the truth. I think He has these feelings for all of us. And so you have that picture. You're up in the soul world. You're nirvana. And all He wants to do is give you those vibrations, powerful vibrations, to fill you up. You don't think that's love? You are beloved. You are lovely. Can you say that to yourselves? I am a lovely being and child of God who is rightful for all the unlimited treasures of the universe from the Supreme. Say that 10 times tonight and see how it feels. If you can even remember. I don't remember what I said. But sounded pretty good. So yeah, I mean, here's another point is you better figure out how to be with yourself, because eternity is a really long time. Just thinking about that. If you're not happy with yourself, you know, it's going to last forever. Who's in charge? Figure it out. Choose to be happy. Choose to accept God's words. Choose to feel belonging. It's very easy to exclude yourself. They didn't want me. They didn't like me. I don't know what's going on. This isn't right. That's just self-talk. You're making that up yourself. Sometimes you have to step forward. It was mentioned in Madhuban one time, how come we don't get a chance? And Baba says in the Murli the same type of a response. Well, you didn't step up to take, you didn't claim it. And that's a big part of what we have to do. God comes and He gives us these things, but He kind of puts it on a plate in front of us. And there it is. Everything that He has. It's unlimited, overflowing. Everything you'd ever want. But you have to reach out, take it. Baba says, claim the inheritance. And claiming is an action. It's a karma. And so watch your karmas, watch your words, watch your thoughts. you are going to be right. If you think you are unworthy, you're going to make yourself unworthy. If you think you're a child of God and deserve everything, you're probably going to act that way. Karma is one of the, powerful lessons. How does it work? What's the energy? What do you want to create? And this confluence age is the time for us to recognize, we have an unlimited way of recognizing what is possible and putting it into action. I want to be happy. I'm going to practice happiness. I want to be loved. I'm going to think of what Baba thinks of me and fill myself with that. If I'm dependent on somebody else, it's not going to work out so good. They're going to come, they're going to go. I'm not perfect. They're not perfect yet. So the law of karma will help us feel belonging. Let me feel like I belong. Let me share. I have a right. I have manners. I can work with others. But I am also a part of the family. I can see myself in a way that brings, just all of God's qualities, and therefore that will confirm to me that my actions and thoughts are proper. I love the lessons of karma. It just, if you remember that, you're gonna be great soon. If I do this, this is gonna happen. If I do this, this is gonna happen. What do you want? Do the right thing. And have power to follow through. The more you start to do that and think that way, the easier it gets. That's what Baba wants from us. See ourselves as souls, see ourselves as worthy. Act with that worthiness, create the actions that will elevate us, and then we move forward into what comes next. Peace and happiness. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, so one of the beautiful things that you nicely blended it together is, so generally when we say about love and then karma sometimes sounds harsh, but you brought this very well together. Like karma to accept love is such a interesting approach to be knitted into the family, right? So once you have that safety net, you are not wiggling. No matter where you go, you are surrounded by Brahmins. So I always heard this, which I liked it. Once a Brahmin, always a Brahmin. Once you know you are a soul, you cannot not know what you are. So once you experience Baba's love, you cannot say that I don't know what Baba is. So you experience it. It's ingrained in the consciousness. You can't not be what you are. And so now coming to the subtleties of Madhuban, right? So if you can share some of your deepest experiences in Madhuban, so that the place is very powerful. That is a place where Brahma Baba become Avyakt. That is a place where Dadis becomes Dadis, right? And that is where Dadis become Avyakt also. So when we go there, it takes us to the next level, right? And if you can share some of your experiences being in Madhuban, what is your favorite place? And
Sure.
You can take us through that journey.
Well, I hope you have some meditation intensives. I hope you have times when you can get together for long moments on Zoom. And I hope that you can click into Tower of Peace, Baba's room, the History Hall. I think Baba's hut is also there, although that one is, but every Saturday we have long meditation experiences in Harmony House, the center that I'm connected to now. And we'll click on those. They've got live cameras on those places. So the ability to go to India in Madhuban and be in the room that Brahma Baba would have studied in and have that meditation, those are all wonderful uses of technology now for me, because I have been there. I'm not sure how many of those listening today have been to India. Hope you all get a chance to go soon. It's not open yet for Westerners for me, but maybe. But it reminds me of the feelings there. And when I first came, the very first time, was on a bus, long bus, sat in the back, up and down, up and down. And it was kind of scary. I'm glad they fixed a lot of the roads there. But I had heard so much about it that I thought when I got off the bus and walked in that somehow there was going to be this otherworldly experience. And it was a little like my meeting Dadi Chanki, you know. It was more of a reflection of me. Oh, she's short. Madhuban is like, I don't feel anything. So what's supposed to happen? You know, I don't know. I didn't know what to expect, but I expected something different. And so it takes a while, it took me a while to kind of figure out that it is not a hit you over the head type of vibration where all of a sudden, you know, you're going to be fixed or angelic or something like that. But it's a very subtle energy. And when I first went, we stayed in a couple different places, but it was rustic, to put it one way, and learned how things operate. For me, it was obviously another world, another culture, and so everything was new. And so being with others who understood that was fine. But I truly enjoy different places in Madhuban. Now these days, for the past, I've been staying in another campus called Gyan Sarovar. That seems to be where meetings are and things, activities that I get involved with are held, so it's easier for me to be there. But the different campuses have a different vibration. And Madhuban, one of my, I don't know if it's a favorite place, but I like sitting in the courtyard. In the courtyard, when you come into Pandav Bhavan, they've got a gate and you kind of walk down a little marble paved incline, and just being in that area and seeing, you know, different activities, people going to class, people doing their service, some are meditating, whatever it's going to be. And the ability to bump into people, see people, and recognize the diversity of Baba's children. Because when I go, it's what they call double foreign season. And so it's a lot of individuals who come from around the world. Sometimes there can be, 50, 70, 100 countries, individuals coming. They kind of all wander through and this and that and sit and talk. And so it's just an overwhelmingly nice feeling to think that, you know, we have all recognized a universal truth. And probably don't talk to most of them, probably don't, interact with a majority who are there. Recently, they've been hundreds, and the big meetings, there's thousands. So you don't get a chance to meet everybody. But over the many years, you get to, hello, how are you, or interaction here, or meet somebody there. And if you try, you can realize that you've got a big family worldwide that accepts everyone, me, us, because we share the same values, we share the same purpose, we share the same life. And that's what's quite amazing, especially when you travel, that you can go to pretty much now anywhere in the world. And if you do a little research, you can find others who are leading the same lifestyle that you are. Want to meditate, want to remember God, want to watch what they eat, what they say, how they might be spending their time, treasuring early morning, letting go of some things that aren't so important, and recognize that that is what takes place in Madhuban. Okay, the History Hall has those pictures, and to sit in that room and recognize God sat here. This is where Brahma Baba also listened, and Mama, if you've ever heard some of the recordings and the videos, that's where they taught. And that vibration is still there. And so to quiet the mind and sit in Baba's room, History Hall, Tower of Peace, and just to have that feeling, it's something I do. I know that I've had this kind of hobby to go to places and kind of feel what has gone on there. In contrast, I grew up in Iowa, so there's not much going on there in the way of civil war. But when I first came to the East Coast, I was amazed that this is where the battle of these things I had heard was, or this is New York, this is where things took place. And there's a vibration, there's an energy. And so to go to Madhuban and feel the energy, it doesn't hit you over the head, but to just know that that experience of others kind of walking the path before us was very uplifting. It's very nice with that way. Every time I go to India, and I've gone quite a bit, used to, for the last few years, twice a year, walking around the lake, seeing what's been going on to the rock, it becomes home again. For me, it's been another home. And so to kind of check in, I often have met some of the brothers who operate the buildings, and you get to know them. Hi, how are you doing? Not intensely, but there's just a familiarity that can be developed. And I think that's what Madhuban can do. But I also know that that's what centers are for. To have a place to go to meet the people who accept you and understand you, and you can be in their company and truly be yourself. And so Madhuban does that for me also. A sense that I can just know that when I talk about the things in my life, others are going to understand. You might find in your own lives that you talk about spiritual things or you talk about your priorities, others might not respond in a way that's confirming that. And so one of the elements is, frankly, that what I like about Madhuban, now that I'm thinking some, is outside of Gyan Sarovar, which is the second campus that was built there, a little farther away from Pandav Bhavan. You go out the main gate, and then you can walk. And you can walk down kind of around the stream and look back at the campus. And there's a little village called Salgan. And the kids that play there and the animals that kind of walk around and such. And sometimes we'll take walks and go through that little town. Probably 100 people live there. And then when you go through that on the other side, for me, it's like I've gone into India when it was in the Middle Ages. It seemed like it hasn't changed at all. And so again, that vibration, that feeling that kind of stirs inside of me is that I have been in this land before, and it feels very comfortable for me in the Midwest to go to India and be in the mountains with cactus and palm trees and some oxen walking around. It's just amazing. It's quite another world. And it takes me back not only to another world physically at this time, but it's also another time when things were peaceful, when things were easy. And so it kind of stirs, each of those locations stirs not a mental memory, but a memory of feeling. How things could have been, how things were, where have I come from, what has happened. And it kind of, all of those together build on that eternal feeling. I've been somewhere, I'm coming back. I've had that. And so it's a very transcendent, subtle experience for me to go to those places and sit in those places and recognize it's a universal, transcendent kind of nexus of energy. And so it becomes quite the place. And I think that's what our centers are for also. A place where we come, a place where we meditate, a place where we invoke, and a place that feels comfortable. That was my sense when I came to the San Francisco Center. You know, this has got a nice vibration. There's something about this. And I can't remember, but the feeling is familiar. I feel that feeling. And so hoping everybody gets a chance for those feelings. And obviously, just to continue a little bit, had meetings with Baba, personal meetings on the stage in Om Shanti Bhavan. Those days where we would sit and he would come and he would give blessings and they would say, okay, those from America, you go have dinner and then you can come back for your meeting, and how they organized that. I'll share one of the blessings that I got, because when I was in Chicago, I didn't have anyone around. And so I couldn't tell if I was a good effort maker or not, because oftentimes you compare yourself. Am I getting up? Am I doing things? Should I be meditating more? You know, had a lot of questions. And didn't know if I was doing enough. And so the first time I was called up, you sit there and then Baba gives drishti, and that was, 10 times Daddy Janki's experience. They got to be the same. And then Baba said, I give you 3 gold coins. All right. One is that you are gold. The second is that you are rightful for the golden age. And the third is that you have the golden opportunity for service. All right, sounds pretty good. So actually have that written on my wall, not on the wall, but something's on the wall, to remind me how God sees us and how we have that understanding that his words are blessings. It's what we hear in the Murli, what we've experienced in his presence, and how he has the power, Karan Karavanhar, he works to help us to see what is possible. And all those places, all those moments, all those interactions just kind of reinforce that. So Madhuban's a pretty good place. Hope to get back there again. Hope those who haven't been there will get there soon. Let's see the drama.
So if you can take us into a short meditation, maybe another round in a subtle form.
All right. So if my Zoom works, everybody's sufficiently happy without chatting anything. So have had a class tonight, and I tell them to start with a deep breath. So take a deep breath. And settle in, crack your neck if that helps. And exhale and feel how lucky we are to have a functioning body. Take another deep breath. And know that the body has been created by many miracles, and that you as the soul have one now, and you can use it to perform the karmas, to transform yourself in the world. And as we easily breathe in again, Baba has always called us Mite Bache, sweet child. And so hold that thought, that you are God's child. He is your mother. He is your father. He looks at you with the eyes of love. All he has for you his sweet, good wishes. And so feel how much he wants you to belong to him. How much he has to offer. He wants us to claim that right. Baba wants us to be aware that we are souls, that we spend eternity with him. And he's giving us all the virtues, all the qualities, all the power, all the love to make us happy. Just as a parent gets happy when his children are happy, the best thing we can do at this time is to accept God's vision of us and step into that happiness, belonging, eternal family. And know that we act with his truth. And with that truth, we transform the world. Om Shanti.
Thank you very much, Erik Bhai. It's so beautiful to have that awareness back.
I have a special blessing that I get a chance to talk with many of the instruments in the United States about different things. And so if you don't have problems, you won't reach out, you won't connect. And so looking at any kind of a situation as actually an excuse to have exchanges. So I have the great opportunity to have many exchanges with many of those of the Brahmin family, because that's one of my blessings. So all of you in San Francisco and the West Coast, so happy to be with you tonight. And I will be even happier to be with you physically soon. So I hope you have a good night, and I hope you get to bed before 11. Shanti, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.